From the dojo to the octagon, this is Budocast, your source for the latest in martial arts news, culture, and competition. From breaking fight results to evolving techniques, we cover it all. Let's get into it.
I am really looking forward to this deep dive.
Yeah, same here. You know, you probably spend your entire day, maybe your entire life, actively avoiding physical conflict.
Right. I mean, most people do.
Exactly. But what if the very thing you are instinctively running from is the exact mechanism required to build, like, unbreakable confidence?
Or to forge a bond that's stronger than blood.
Yes, exactly. Today we are looking at the modern landscape of combat. We're getting into how fighters survive in the cage, how promotions survive in a brutal market, and honestly, how individuals use martial arts to survive in the world.
It's just an incredible spectrum when you think about it. We are analyzing a physical discipline that scales all the way from raw individual survival instincts up to massive global corporate machinery.
It really is wild. And let's start right at the sharpest edge of that spectrum, the reality of professional combat. We actually have some breaking news to cover first.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
The UFC announced the sudden passing of 34-year-old Brazilian flyweight Allan Nascimento. He was found unresponsive on a Monday morning, apparently suffering a heart attack in his sleep.
Man, 34 is just incredibly young. It is a harsh reminder of how fragile human biology is, regardless of the fact that this man was an elite athlete. I mean, he was in absolute peak physical condition.
Right, he wasn't just casually training?
No, not at all. Nascimento was a highly respected competitor. He had an overall MMA record of 22 wins and 7 losses.
And I was reading through the source material on his passing, and the thing that really jumps out isn't his record. It's the sheer intensity of the grief from his team.
Yeah, the Shoot Box Academy.
Right. He trained at the famous Shoot Box Academy under Diego Lima down in Brazil. Former UFC champion Charles Oliveira posted this tribute calling Nascimento a brother that the fight game gave me, and he called him a legend.
That's high praise from a former champ.
It really is. And you know, I see fighters use the word brother all the time on social media, but this just felt different. What is actually happening psychologically inside a fight camp to create that level of attachment?
Well, that bond is forged through extreme shared vulnerability. Think about what a fight camp actually demands of you.
It's grueling, right?
Grueling is an understatement. You are isolated for 8 to 12 weeks, pushing your body to the absolute brink of failure. But more importantly, you are literally putting your long-term cognitive health in the hands of your training partners every single day.
Right, because you're actively sparring. You're trusting the guy across from you not to give you a concussion on a Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. You're trusting them with your livelihood and your life. Then you add in the shared trauma of weight cutting.
Oh, that's brutal.
It is. Starving yourselves, dehydrating your bodies in saunas until you can barely stand up. It creates a psychological phenomenon that's very similar to trauma bonding.
Wow, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, in a sport that appears totally individualistic when that cage door locks, the preparation requires absolute, unconditional communal support. So when Oliveira calls him a brother, it's not just a nice sentiment for social media.
It's literal.
Exactly. Losing a foundational piece of that shootbox ecosystem is a devastating psychological blow to the entire team.
It really is a stark reminder of what these athletes endure behind closed doors. But I want to pivot to what happens when those doors actually lock. Let's talk about survival inside the arena.
Okay, shifting gears.
Yeah. Karate Combat 62 just wrapped up in Miami. They featured a 205-pound title fight between 2 UFC veterans, Sam Alvey and Uriah Hall.
This matchup was a fascinating case study in competing philosophies.
How so?
Well, you had Uriah Hall, who has historically been one of the most dynamic, aesthetically beautiful strikers in all of combat sports. He's going up against the champion, Sam Alvey.
Right.
And Alvey is, for all intents and purposes, the total embodiment of raw, stubborn grit.
You know, the best analogy I could think of watching Alvey fight is like a relentless video game zombie.
That is painfully accurate.
Right. Like you hit him with your best combo, he absorbs all the damage, and he just keeps marching forward. Hall was landing these gorgeous highlight reel spinning kicks early on.
He was having a lot of success with them, too.
He really was, which makes me wonder, how does sheer grit and cardio actually outscore technical, pretty striking at this level?
Because grit in MMA isn't just about taking a punch. It's about weaponizing momentum. Early on, you're right, Hall had a ton of success.
He looks great.
He was utilizing his range, landing hard shots, And he even had a brutal resurgence in the fourth round.
Yeah.
He landed a clean right hand and a ripping high kick that left Alvey badly bloodied.
Yeah, if you just watch the social media clips, you'd think Hall dominated the whole fight.
Absolutely. But Alvey retained his title by unanimous decision.
So how did he actually stop Hall's momentum?
By methodically dismantling Hall's foundation. Alvey didn't just walk forward blindly to take damage. He invested heavily in calf kicks.
Okay, let's get technical for a second. We hear commentators talk about chopping down the tree with calf kicks all the time, but mechanically, why is that so devastating to a guy like Uriah Hall?
It goes way beyond just causing pain. A properly placed calf kick targets the peroneal nerve, which runs right along the outside of the lower leg.
Oh, wow, so you're actually targeting the nervous system.
Exactly. When you strike that nerve repeatedly, it essentially deadens the muscle. It misfires. Hall relies on explosive spinning attacks. Right?
Yeah, that's his whole highlight reel.
Well, to spin, you need a stable base to push off the mat. If your peroneal nerve is compromised, your foot physically cannot generate that torque. Your leg just goes dead. Alvey physically removed Hall's ability to throw his best weapons.
That is insane. And the sources mentioned Alvey utilized a lot of ground and pound in round 2, but this is karate combat. They fight in a pit with angled walls, not a traditional cage. How does that change the dynamic?
That angled wall is an absolute nightmare for a tired striker.
Really? Why?
Think about a traditional cage. If you get pushed to the fence, you can use the vertical link to keep yourself upright. But in the karate combat pit, the walls slope upward.
Ah, so you can't just lean back.
Nope. If a relentless pressure fighter like Alvey drives you into that slope, traditional takedown defense geometry goes completely out the window. You just slide down the ramp.
Man, that sounds exhausting.
It is. Alvey used that environment to force Hall to carry his weight, exhausting him further with ground and pound. By round 5, Hall survived on pure heart, but Alvey dictated all the terms of engagement. Size, persistence, and endless cardio completely drowned out the technical striker.
So function brutally overpowers form. But, surviving in the pit is one thing, but surviving in the business of combat sports is an entirely different beast.
Oh, for sure. It's a cutthroat industry.
It really is. I want to shift to the corporate machinery required to monetize these spectacles. Let's look at the Lingerie Fighting Championships, the LFC.
This is a massive pivot, moving from pure martial arts mechanics to the commercial reality of niche sports entertainment. What did you find in the LFC's latest moves?
Well, they just announced a new exclusive corporate partnership with an agency called Apex Sponsor Solutions. Apex is basically taking over their naming rights and brand integrations.
Okay, big move for them.
Huge. The LFC has seen some staggering metrics lately, like a 500% growth on social media over the past year alone.
That's huge growth for a niche league.
Right. But here's the detail that stopped me in my tracks. The LFC is planning to build a permanent venue in Las Vegas.
A permanent venue?
Yes, which sounds like absolute financial suicide for a niche league, right? Normally, these organizations rely on a touring model.
Yeah, you go from city to city to avoid fatiguing a single local audience.
Exactly. Why on earth would they abandon the touring model to lock down insanely expensive real estate in Vegas?
Well, if you look at it purely as a ticket-selling arena, you're absolutely right. It makes no sense. But that is not what Apex is building. They're not building an arena. They are building a content factory.
A content factory? Can you explain that?
So, under the traditional touring model, a promotion is basically a traveling circus. You have immense overhead shipping lights, cages, and production crews across the country, all banking on live gate revenue. People actually sitting in seats.
Right, which is super risky.
It's incredibly risky. But Apex realizes the actual money is in digital monetization. This Vegas venue is designed as a multi-purpose hub.
Okay, so it's more than just fight night.
Way more. It will host the monthly live events, sure, but daily it serves as an athlete training facility, a dedicated content production studio, and a third-party rental space.
Ah, so this is exactly why your social media feed is suddenly flooded with 10-second combat clips while you're waiting in line for coffee. They aren't trying to sell you a physical ticket anymore.
Precisely. They are monetizing your attention span at scale. And from a sponsorship perspective, owning the physical real estate is an absolute goldmine.
Because they can just plaster logos everywhere.
Yeah, Apex can offer massive founding partner packages. They can sell the naming rights to the building itself, brand the training mats, and integrate sponsors into the daily, behind-the-scenes video content produced in-house.
It totally changes the business model.
It does. Institutionalizing their infrastructure transforms them from a risky event promoter into a permanent, highly visible media entity.
Before we dive deeper, shout out to our sponsors. First up, Elite Sports, leaders in premium fight wear for BJJ and MMA. Whether you're rolling or striking, they've got gear built to move with you. Check them out at elitesports.com. And if you're a school owner looking to optimize your dojo's performance, you need to check out Lotus by Open Black Belt. It's the ultimate management software for tracking ranks, attendance, and billing. They are currently offering a free trial to our listeners. Streamline your business so you can spend more time on the mats. Visit openblackbelt.com to start your trial today. You can find links for both in the show notes. And if you've got a story, news tip, or question, send it to us at Budocast.com.
So we've explored the multi-million-dollar permanent venues being built by corporate entities, but the irony is that the most permanent life-altering changes in martial arts rarely happen under those bright lights.
No, they really don't.
They happen quietly, on local community mats.
I couldn't agree more. The local dojo is the ultimate catalyst for change. It's where individuals break through limitations that society places on them. And honestly, there is no better example of this in our deep dive today than Brendan Ryan.
Oh, this is such a great story.
It really is. Brendan is a 22-year-old from Long Island, New York. He has Down syndrome, and he is a second-degree Taekwondo black belt.
Which is an amazing accomplishment on its own.
Totally. But he just competed at the AAU Nationals down in Fort Lauderdale, and he completely dominated.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. He didn't just show up to participate. He took home gold in the weapons category, specifically using the nunchucks, and won another gold in the forms category.
And the AAU even named him the top para-athlete of the entire national competition.
Which is just a huge honor.
It is. But okay, I have to jump in and ask a slightly cynical question just to play devil's advocate for the listener who might be wondering.
Sure, go for it.
When you see a feel-good story like this at a national tournament, is there, like, a halo effect happening? Are the judges grading him on a curve because of his disability, or was he held to the exact same rigorous standard as everyone else?
He was held to the exact same standard, and the proof is in the discipline he chose. You cannot fake competence with nunchucks.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. The biomechanics required to perform a weapons kata with nunchucks at a national level, the hand-eye coordination, the spatial awareness, the rapid crossing of the body's midline, it requires an immense cognitive and physical load.
Because if you mess up, you literally just hit yourself.
Exactly. You physically strike yourself. Earning gold in that category means his technique was objectively flawless.
That is amazing. And he won double gold at his first ever national appearance. Usually the pressure of a national stage makes first-timers freeze up completely.
Which points directly to the environment where he was forged. He trains at Champions Martial Arts under Master Nadine Pace.
And she has a very specific approach, right?
She does. Master Pace made a very specific pedagogical choice. She placed absolutely no limits on him. He wasn't separated into a fragile special needs only bubble. He was fully integrated into regular classes for 7 years.
Wow, just thrown right into the mix.
Yep. And when you force a student to adapt to a high standard, rather than lowering the standard to meet the student, it cultivates an unshakable sense of belonging. He wasn't nervous at nationals because he'd already spent years proving he belonged on those exact mats.
And he's even working toward his 4th-degree black belt to become an instructor himself, which perfectly illustrates how physical technique translates directly into psychological resilience.
It's a direct pipeline.
It really is. And that actually brings me to another grassroots story from the sources. Unity Martial Arts in Little Rock, Arkansas recently hosted a self-defense seminar, but this one was specifically tailored for young women entering high vulnerability transition periods like heading off to college or starting high school.
Those transitional life phases are so critical. It's when young people are often separated from their primary support networks for the first time, making them prime targets for predators.
Exactly.
Providing them with a structured environment to build resilience is critical. What were the specific mechanics being taught at the seminar?
So instructor Gretchen Butler, along with a student named Hannah Bolden, were demonstrating these highly practical, leverage-based techniques. For example, they taught the thumb escape.
Okay, the thumb escape. Walk me through it.
If an attacker grabs your wrist, your instinct is to play tug-of-war, right? You just pull straight back with raw muscle.
Right, which completely fails if the attacker's way bigger than you.
Exactly. You lose that battle. So instead, you rotate your hand and pull out right through the tiny gap where their thumb meets their fingers. The analogy that makes this click for me is a knotted rope.
Oh, I like that.
If you have a thick rope tied in a knot, you don't try to snap the rope in half using brute strength. You find the weakest single loop in the knot, and you slip the end right through it.
That's a brilliant way to visualize it. It's entirely about biomechanical leverage.
Yes, exactly.
Biomechanics are the ultimate equalizer when there's a massive disparity in size and strength.
But here is what fascinated me about their curriculum. Butler places just as much emphasis on teaching these young women to take up space and use their voices to set firm verbal boundaries.
Which is arguably the most important part.
But why is the act of breaking a board or hitting a physical pad so deeply linked to the ability to tell someone no in a social setting?
That gets to the absolute core psychology of self-defense. Think about how young women are traditionally socialized in modern society.
Right. They're often taught to be accommodating.
Exactly, to be quiet, to shrink themselves down so they aren't an inconvenience. So the idea of loudly and firmly asserting a boundary to a stranger is socially terrifying for them.
So the physical techniques are almost like a psychological workaround, like a Trojan horse for mental confidence.
That is exactly what it is. When a young woman feels the raw physical impact of her own strike against a heavy pad, when she realizes her body is capable of generating destructive force, it completely rewires how she views her own agency.
It makes it real for her.
Yes, that physical confidence shatters the social conditioning to be quiet. It gives her the psychological permission to firmly say no, to use her voice as a weapon, and to de-escalate a threat before it ever becomes physical.
Because the goal isn't to fight.
No, the ultimate goal of self-defense isn't to win a street fight. It's to project such an undeniable aura of confidence that a predator decides you are too difficult of a target to engage with in the first place.
That concept of taking up space is incredibly profound. And, it scales too. We've talked about martial arts shaping the individual in a local dojo. But if we zoom out, this exact same mechanism is used to shape the identity and resilience of entire nations.
Oh, you're talking about the developments in Vietnam.
Right. Let's look at martial arts as living history. The 9th International Festival of Vietnamese Traditional Martial Arts just opened in Quang Ninh in the GLA province.
And this is a massive event.
Huge. Nearly 1,000 practitioners and 16 international delegations from 9 different countries showed up. The opening ceremony had these massive synchronized demonstrations, parades, and incense offerings at the Heaven Worship Palace.
It sounds visually stunning.
It is, but let me play devil's advocate here again. When you see an ancient combat system reduced to synchronized parades, incense offerings, and mass choreography, isn't there a risk that it's becoming like a museum exhibit?
Right, a performative tourist attraction.
Exactly. Doesn't it stop being a practical discipline?
It is a very common critique, and it happens to a lot of traditional arts. They get sanitized for public consumption.
Yeah.
But if we look at the actions of the local leadership in Vietnam, they are actively fighting against that museum mentality.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, Chairman Pham An Tuan explicitly stated that these martial arts are intrinsically tied to Vietnam's history of safeguarding its sovereignty and national defense. But the real proof isn't just in a speech at a festival.
What's the proof, then?
It's in a specific policy detail from our sources. The GLA Department of Education and Training is actively integrating these traditional martial arts directly into the standard school curriculum.
Wait, like mandatory learning in modern public schools?
For students at all educational levels.
So they aren't just saving this for special holiday festivals.
Correct. And that changes the context entirely. When a modern society mandates the teaching of an ancient martial art to its children, they are not trying to raise an army of historical reenactors.
Right, they want practical benefits.
Yes. They are recognizing the art as a living, breathing tool. They are extracting the physical health benefits, the immense discipline, and the visceral connection to cultural heritage, and they're injecting it directly into the next generation.
That is fascinating.
It pulls the martial art out of the glass display case of the past and turns it into a foundational building block for the country's future resilience.
It really all circles back to the same core mechanism, doesn't it? Whether you are a young woman in Arkansas learning to take up space, a disabled athlete in New York proving you belong, or a student in Vietnam practicing ancient forms in gym class, you are building an internal framework to survive external adversity.
And that framework is becoming more critical than ever. Actually, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over, one that extends beyond what we've covered today.
Go for it.
We are rapidly moving into a world dominated by artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and frictionless digital experiences. We spend our lives staring at screens, disconnected from our physical bodies. As our daily lives become increasingly virtual and sanitized, will the dojo and the cage become the last remaining sanctuaries in modern society where human beings are forced to confront undeniable, objective, physical truth, where you can't fake it, you can't filter it, and you simply have to survive it?
Man, that is a phenomenal question to leave off on. Are we seeking out the mats just to remember what reality feels like? And that's it for this episode of Budocast. Thanks for joining us as we break down the latest in martial arts. We'll be back soon with more news, stories, and insights. Until then, train hard, stay humble,